Good afternoon, everyone. This is Shivani. Great to see you all once again in yet another episode of Leadership Spotlight series by Positive Vibes Consulting. As you all know, in these series, we have conversations with inspiring thought leaders in various fields who share their extensive knowledge, experience, and wisdom on topics that are relevant, contemporary, and extremely value adding for our audience. And today it is an absolute honor for me to host a guest who honestly needs no introduction as he is an institution in himself. Very happy and honored to welcome Dr. GP Rao here. Welcome, Dr. Rao.
Thank you. My pleasure. My pleasure.
Thank you so much for taking out time and talking to us today. Dr. GP Rao, as we all know, is a very inspirational thought leader and speaker. His career journey has been absolutely surreal and very motivating, especially for people wanting to carve out a great career for themselves. Dr. Rao spent over 37 years in an absolutely stellar HR career prior to starting his consulting career. He's worked with some of the very big names in the corporate world like SAIL, JK, Birlas and Reliance Industries. His last assignment was with Recron Malaysia, a Reliance Group company, as Chief of HR and Management Services. Fondly known as GP in HR circles, he has received a number of awards, including the Outstanding Contribution Award from National HRD Network, HR Leadership Excellence Award at Singapore, and Achievers Awards at Colombo. He's associated with NHRDN, NIPM, ISTD, CII, ASSOCHAM, and PhD Chambers of Commerce, and he's held very senior positions. He's also on the advisory board of a number of companies and business schools, and his focus areas are business coaching, workplace synergy, tech-driven L&D, HR advisory, diversity and inclusion, and many, many more areas. After a successful corporate career of more than 3 decades, Dr. Rao now runs his own company by the name of Good People Relations. So once again, sir, a very, very warm welcome to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be on your platform.
Thank you, sir. It's an absolute honor for us. So in these current times, we're all seeing a tremendous change in the way work and workplaces are being organized. And this change makes it even more imperative that there is continuous synergy. And that's what we're going to be talking today on new age workplace synergy with Dr. Rao. So, Dr. Rao, my first question to you is that what is this synergy that we are talking about? Specifically, what do we mean by the term workplace synergy? And why is it so important? And, more importantly, what happens if this is missing? What are the possible consequences of the lack of synergy in an organization?
Okay. First, let us talk about workplace.
Yes.
Workplace is a place people from different backgrounds, different interests, different responsibilities work for a common purpose. So on a workplace, like typically we have line managers driving productivity, production, HR managers driving engagement, people care and all, unions and associations taking care of the employee's interest and the employee himself. Getting all of them to the one single place, that is workplace synergy. Workplace synergy. Of course, it is more challenging when it is on a remote or on a hybrid thing. Now, if it's not there, what will happen? People will work in different directions. So the opposite of it is one common purpose is the positivity. The second is if you want to be more productive, then all of us have to work in tandem. The third is if you are in synergy, so the work gets faster and also it will be profitable to everybody. So it is purpose, productivity and profitability to everybody in the system. So this is workplace synergy.
Sure. And what is the risk for an organization that if there is a lack of synergy? It's a beautiful point that you said that it is everybody moving towards a common purpose, and that is so very healthy for an organization. But what if this synergy is missing? What is the possible consequence? Because a lot of people probably in today's times don't understand that it's important for different leaders, different departments to work in tandem with each other. So what happens? What is the payoff that the organization has to do in that case?
No, the opposite of synergy is chaos. So people work in
Yes.
different directions and they
Right.
will work in their interest. Unknowingly, they will be harming the interest of others. Some are intended, some are unintended. And this wastage of energy. So
Right.
it doesn't get channelized. So the opposite of synergy is chaos. It's
Chaos. Yeah.
waste of energy. Yeah, it's waste of
Yes.
energy of everybody.
Yes, sure. So, you worked in so many, big companies, and was synergy a challenge in any of those companies that you worked in?
Yeah,
And if it
see,
was, how did you make sure that that synergy happened?
synergy becomes more challenging where people are more. If it is one
Yeah.
person is leading 10 people, no. When the numbers are larger, and they
Right.
are working in a scattered
Right.
fashion. So the synergy, building a synergy becomes more important and a little challenging. So
Right.
incidentally, I have worked all through my life. I worked in manufacturing organizations and large organizations, whether it is SAIL,
Yes.
Steel Authority, or it is
Yes.
Birlas, or JK, or Reliance. It's always large organizations. So,
Right.
I mean, the largest one unit was in Malaysia with 8,000 people were there in one company.
Right.
So
Right.
that long. So wherever we worked. So we always identified five stakeholders for this. One is
Sure.
the business manager or the line managers.
Right.
Uh, I mean, it's not their fault. Their
Yes.
priorities always will be business, production, productivity, output, improvement. I mean, there's nothing wrong. And HR managers, IR managers, typically their care is engagement, people care, people retention, happiness. This is how we do. And the unions and associations, and by
Right.
design and by default, by undefined, they always only think about the interest of the workers and sometimes
Right.
lose sight of the interest of the organization and the
Right.
employees themselves because of some communication gap or for any other reason. Employees feel that they don't get their piece of cake. So
True.
getting all of them together is always important for us, challenging for us, and wherever we worked, I mean we spent time on the synergy,
Hmm.
both on cultural front, mindset front, skill front, and operationalizing
Right.
it. You see,
Interesting.
sometimes the people need skills to do this job.
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
not comfortable doing this kind of job, as people think. So I got plenty of this experience of driving this and deriving benefit of that in all
Right,
these cases.
right. Absolutely. I think the skill point that you brought out is very, very interesting because a lot of times we tend to oversee that. We feel that synergy is all about, working together and having, a camaraderie and, having one common goal. Yes, that's there. But I think skills play a very, very important role. So that's a very interesting perspective that you brought in. But as we understand synergy, like you said, it is relatively easier to drive when the workplace is physical, where people meet every day. But what about virtual workplaces or so-called work from anywhere format? How can leaders ensure that the same synergy is achieved in this format?
Okay, let's go step by step.
Yeah.
Even when there was no pandemic, we had situations where everybody work comes to one place. Then
Right.
we had these branches. No?
Right.
So there's a sales director, he got branches, but then he has to
Right.
synergize them. So that was the in the physical context, but then people are at different places. One is in warehouse, one is in branch, one is in head office, one is in factory. Bringing that synergy was also a challenge for people. Then
Yes.
came people wanted flexibility. So many of the IT companies, I'm all talking about before pandemic. IT companies started introducing schemes like you can work from home, flexi working. So
Right.
it all started. But those days it was more exceptional, more seen as like no, it's a privilege kind of thing. But this pandemic brought a challenge, where as well
Yes.
as even an opportunity to try out virtual working. Now, virtual working has now become a part of our work life now. So your question was how it is different in
Yeah.
synergy, building synergy is different. Yes, it is more
Right.
challenging because it is not even work from home.
Yes.
To quote one company, S Bank, in their employment ad, they have written it is work from anywhere. So no,
Right.
actually it's a fact. People work from home, work from coffee shop, work from a shared office, work
Yes.
from friends,
Hills, beach,
friends
anywhere.
place, anywhere.
Yeah.
So then, so when people are at different places, same team
Yeah.
at different places,
Yeah.
one team is easy, but in large organization it is team and team. So
Right.
you will work with different teams, different functions, different domains. Then it becomes
Yes.
large. So it is very really challenging. So once again, you need mindset for doing it. You need
Yes.
skills for doing it,
Yes.
infrastructure for doing it, policies for doing it. And fortunately, our Indian companies, our Indian colleagues have been able to do that and leverage
Yeah.
the challenge brought by pandemic. So
Yes.
people are doing it, but then it needs different skills, different training, different mindset. All that is required, but it's possible to be done. People are doing.
Sure. So we talked about a work from anywhere format. Now, increasingly, companies are talking about a hybrid format, wherein some functions will be working out of a physical space and some functions will be working remotely. Now, in that situation where your employees are again scattered, how do you make sure that again, coming back to the same question, how does the
Yeah,
synergy happen in a hybrid workplace model?
I was since I'm a consultant, I have access to a large number of organizations. Then I was working in one company. So I was talking to them. He said only in-person working was easier than everybody working in a remote.
Absolutely.
Easier. But then they
Yeah.
said hybrid is tougher if some people in office and some people
Yes.
are work from anywhere. It's tougher. Uh,
Absolutely.
so then I said, what is the way out? They said in hybrid, we will fix days
Hmm.
when everybody has to come to office, some
Right.
days, and some purpose. For example, it's a strategy meeting.
Right.
It's a communication meeting, a sharing of something that can be anywhere, anybody can be there. So if it is just making a presentation, you can be present from anywhere. So
Yes.
where interaction is required, you will have to go physically see a physical location. So those will have to be at one place. It's very difficult to do hybrid.
Right.
So this is the way out they are giving type of task for which we meet, and some days we have to come together, everybody, and do that physically when they say
Okay.
hybrid. And some training programs have to be physical, some training programs can be online, some can be
Right.
offline. So they gave this example to me, for
Right.
example. Yeah. So it's a bit tougher.
Yeah.
It's a tougher.
Yeah. That's a fair idea. I mean, that's a fair way to do it. That you call some people on a few days, so that way everybody tends to get some day to come to office and meet people. That's probably the best that one can do in these times. You've been an expert in employee relations, and in your career you've been able to drive a lot of meaningful employee engagement initiatives, which would have had a tremendous outcome for the organizations that you work for. Now, one of the key challenges that HR and business leaders are facing in this pandemic is to keep again the workforce engaged, especially in a work from anywhere format. So what's your advice to leaders, specifically pertaining to keeping the employees motivated, engaged in these times when they're physically not able to meet each other, and with that the added pressure of the pandemic, the fear and everything else? So what's your
Uh,
advice?
since you said I am from the grassroots, no,
Yes.
initial meaning of engagement is I engage people, no, I engage two people, you engage three people. No, that's not engagement. The second, then we learned, as we grew, we learned engaging people means, making them engaged, feeling of involved.
Right.
You are connected with us. That is engagement. The third level, probably as we grew, we saw that the engagement is beyond all these things. If I am engaged, I feel good about my company and I talk good about my company.
Right.
That is number one.
Being a
Number
brand
two is,
ambassador.
yeah, then I talk good about my company. I feel good,
Hmm.
I talk feel good, and I feel like doing more, I strive more for the company. All that has happened. But
Right.
so this is typically engagement. But I think for our purpose, basically engagement means how do you people feel, get that feeling of in an in-person situation,
True.
whatever is in an
Yeah.
in-person situation. We take them for a social, we do a coffee
Yeah.
meeting,
Yes.
we go to a conference room
Yes.
and have a meeting, we have a
Yes.
brainstorming, we just go around, no management or wandering, all
True.
that, do that. How do you do that? So one is extensive use of digitalization.
Right. Right.
I attending conference. I have seen some of the company meetings. So at home, you feel you are in the conference room. I mean, that's
Yes.
a virtual format. You have a chair, I
Yes.
have a chair. You feel you are in the conference. So those kind of things. Number two is
Right.
lot of gamification has happened. So that is the second one. The third is lots of innovative actions, activities are happening to keep people engaged. That means using the digitalization mode. That is number one.
Right.
That
Right.
is one. The number two is uh, what do we miss? So I miss the direction of a good boss. That is one. Number two,
True.
I miss my love and affection for my colleagues.
True.
I miss the fun of going around, walking around, seeing people.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
so this the, so whatever we miss, so we
Yeah.
have to see, can I provide that virtually and to what
Yeah.
extent? And in the
Yeah.
process, people are more happier. No, for
Hmm.
example, to give a suggestion scheme, participate
Yeah.
in a creativity scheme, you do a brainstorming, generate an idea, do a TED talk, ask for opinions. So it's all, or making a nice presentation. Probably in the online, they're able to make better presentation than in a physical mode. So with so
True.
many, so many tools available, they're doing it better. So one is the digitalization. The second is the management processes and techniques in engagement. Huh.
Right.
I know we may discuss about the burnout, other things, even initially. So in an online, so be aware that he's at home, so family is there. If at a coffee shop, others are sitting. If he's in
Right.
a shared office, there are he's as for. So this sensitivity, you must know
Yeah.
where he is,
Yeah.
or he
Yeah.
is. So that sensitization, that sensitivity, that is number one. Number two is
Absolutely.
when he is not at in-person meeting, he has some limitations of infrastructure,
Yeah.
limitation of time, limitation
Yes.
of privacy. That so keeping these two and the HR policies are what flexibility requires, what additional facility require, what are
Right.
that support, These three things are required to manage that engagement. But people are
Sure.
again. I'm happy to say that people are able to do that. I'm not
Yes.
saying that there are no minuses or downside, but people are
Yes.
very happy in
Yeah.
this format.
Absolutely. I think the key is to stay connected. And like you
Take care.
said, the use of digitalization, the use of technology is coming in handy for actually keeping people connected. And that's an advice that I also give to my clients that, this is probably the time you should be even more connected with your people. Than you were in a physical workplace, because here, what people miss the most is probably, that connection, that bond, that warmth that they feel when they meet other people. So that while we are socially distanced, but we are not technologically distanced. So technology helps us to grow, closer. So I think I completely agree with you. And like you rightly said, a lot of companies are doing it. They've been able to do it. And especially in the last month when the times were very tough, we had the second wave. We saw a lot of companies going out of the way to help their employees and their families. So I guess, yes, we are going there in the right direction. Um, a question I often ask all senior leaders, to especially HR leaders, to get their varied perspectives that since the time work from anywhere has been the norm, many employees have complained of feeling burnt out. There's a feeling of
Yes.
burnout. There are working hours with practically no boundaries. So, what's your advice to organizations on how they can prevent this burnout amongst employees, as this would have a significant impact on their overall productivity, wellness, and their overall engagement with the organization?
Once again, I will take you back. I said this burnout issue was there in in-person situation also. See, it's
Yeah,
again, it's all
very
about management. All about. I was working in large companies. We were staying in townships.
right.
So since my house is next door,
Yeah.
my boss thought I can go anytime delay
Yes.
or I can be
Yes.
called. Whereas in a non-township area, they know that, oh, I have to catch a bus, I have to catch
Catch
a
a bus.
train,
Yeah.
or I have
Yeah.
to go with another two people in the same pool car. So this is
Right.
again, no. So it is
Right.
misusing or abusing a situation. So
Absolutely.
that is that sensitivity is important. So people think, oh, anyway, he's at home, you can call him. Okay, yeah. Oh, let's do a meeting here. Let's do it. Why tomorrow? We can do it today.
Yeah.
When he was coming to office, we know it 10 to 6, but now we don't
Yes.
follow. So people
Absolutely.
ask me, many companies, my friends and our clients asked me what we can do. We were debating a few things, Hemant, I want to share with you. Number one is we have to engage a person for a task, not for time.
Right.
Huh. Huh. So it's
Doesn't
this is
work.
the task. Huh.
Yeah.
If the task is not completed, I can ask you beyond 8 hours also. But
Yes.
if so, this is one. The task was one. Number two was calendarization of meetings.
Right.
Huh. At least 80%, 80-90% you do calendarization of meetings. The
True.
third is ask people. I learned this with somebody. You make a calendar for quarter, you block
Right.
some days and dates. So on that
Right.
date, you can't do anything. That is town hall meeting of CEO. So I can't do anything. This
Right.
is my parent teachers meeting. So you can't. So ask from
Yes.
your team members which are the slots I cannot disturb him. He said 1 to 2 hour lunch time, 5 to 7 is my yoga time, 8 o'clock our dinner time. This is my mother. This time my
Yeah.
laptop, my children use. So let us
Yeah.
put those red marks. So then the superior know that okay, these are the slots is available. I can put that.
Yes.
So slowly I think we'll evolve. But this
Sure.
task idea, I liked it. Said, no, he's not 24/7 employee. He's employed for a task.
Right.
If you're not complete task, you can give a reminder.
Yes.
It's not
So
that
it
he's
should
free,
be.
you can give it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a very valid point that you made. That instead of being time bound, it's important to have very clear goals, very clear tasks, and hold people accountable for that. Now, whether they do that in whatever time is convenient for them, but at the end of the day, that as long as the task is done. Yeah, and also, I've seen a tendency to keep meetings late in the evening. Now, it may work for some people,
So
but it doesn't
you
work for a lot
calendarize,
of people.
no? If you calendarize,
Yes.
the
Yes.
gentleman will feel 100 times before fixing a meeting at 9 p.m. Why
Yes.
should, how can you
Yes,
fix a meeting at 9?
absolutely.
So
Absolutely. I
this is
agree.
on
And
the this is on the harder side. On the softer
right.
side,
Yeah.
HR should organize feedback. HR should
Right.
organize counseling.
Their
HR should
policies.
organize
Yeah.
yoga. No, so I mean, if you burn out is for any other reason, so we should help
Sure.
them in that mental peace and physical peace, physical fitness,
Sure.
mental fitness, and in some cases even the counseling is all required. We should provide that is on the softer side. Softer side.
Right, right, right. And I can see some comments coming in. Clarity and sensitivity of boundaries, very important point, is by Prashant. I'd like to encourage the audience here that in case there are any questions that you have, please feel free to post in the chat box so that we can, concurrently ask Dr. Rao. There's a question that, it's a very good point that you just made, but with a blurred line between personal and work times, do we see any new age policies being defined? Are organizations defining any new work policies for the same? Or
Yeah.
should they do it?
Yeah, yeah. No, no. People are now talking about the server time. They're fixing the server time. even if I want, I cannot work beyond that time. So,
Right.
so,
Okay.
so this is one thing they're doing. The second one is, if you really want that he should be always be independent, there should not be any deviation to his infrastructure and all. People are building a small home, what is called small office, home office. People are
Yeah.
providing
Yeah.
that facility to people,
Yeah.
so that
Yeah.
whatever time he is available full. So maybe
Right.
sometimes, no, because of the disturbance, certain things are getting prolonged when at home. That
Right.
is the second one. And this IT facility or IT allowance or those
Set
kind
up.
of
Yeah.
things, or
Yeah.
that policy has already come. Because
Yes.
they are saving on the conveyance cost and the canteen cost and certain other costs. So companies are ready to invest on the IT cost. So in the
Right.
policy that has also come. And
Right.
last one is it's a bit liberal. They have discussed with the employees. So, what is your issue? They discussed about the children's education,
Right.
uh, old parents. So,
Yeah.
whatever that, so they are trying to help the employee. So, how do you take care of that so that you don't get disturbed or diverted because of those? So, people are
True.
helping them out also. So, these
Yeah.
are all, but policies are evolving. Policies are evolving.
Yes, absolutely. And I guess what you're saying is right, that organizations are doing whatever they can. They're also evolving because, of course, when there is a change in the entire working environment, the scenario, policies also have to be redefined and rechanged according to the current working place. So I know there are companies which are which have defined very very clear work from home policies, very clear rules, very clear timings, and especially like you said, the whole piece around being a little more sensitive to people, understanding their needs, understanding their constraints at home. And I think today every company, every organization, I think has invested in giving an IT setup to their people. So I
Yeah.
guess that pretty much answers the question there. Um, when we talk about you spoke about a common goal, a common purpose. That is what synergy is all about. When we talk about a unison of goal or a purpose, which means everyone moves towards one common purpose, the employees, the leadership, and the organization, they work in harmony towards moving to one purpose. Now, again, what is your advice based on your experience to bring about that alignment? Because a lot of times there are conflicts between business leaders, between HR, and between employees, where everybody is working in moving in different directions. In your experience of working with companies, how did you manage to bring about that harmony and make sure that everybody sees towards that and moves together towards that one common purpose?
I'll do one thing. I'll give an example.
Yes.
ITC main business is tobacco,
Right.
and in tobacco, their main plant is in Saharanpur. It is more than
Right.
100 years old.
Right.
So about 2 years, 3 years ago, in the union elections, a younger crowd became the union leaders. The union didn't change.
Right.
Within the union, the leadership changed.
Okay.
So, as a proactive measure, the management wanted me to interact with them. I said, what's the purpose? He said, that's the purpose. They said, they should be on the same purpose.
Right.
So, I said, how do we do that? They said, you can't do a training program, you can't put
Yeah.
in workshop. So, you'll have
Right.
to do it in a conversation mode, and that too in
Yes.
Hindi. So,
Yes.
what we did is, he said, union leadership development. That's the program we did for that. We
Mm.
did with that, and they were so impressed with the outcome or the process. They said such similar thing you should be done by the management also. I said I can't do that, but then
Yeah.
later, I mean, then we did with management. Now I'll come to the final thing, and when we did the final thing, we did in. We went out of the company. We went to Masuri and all. We talked to the union and found out what are your ultimate objectives. And we talked to the
Right.
management. We said, what are your ultimate objectives?
Right.
Interestingly, we saw 70% were common. It's only a
Yes.
perception that their objectives are different from our objectives.
Absolutely.
60,
Yes.
70% were common. When it comes to 20, 30%, we saw out of those, a majority were communication gap or a perception gaps than actual gaps.
True.
So
True.
then, so it so happened in day two, we were to start at 9 o'clock. And
Hmm.
both parties told me the previous night, sir, tomorrow we will start a late, very late. He said,
Hmm.
how late? He said, about 11 o'clock. He said, what will happen to my agenda? Sir, we will finish it in 90 minutes, your 3 hours agenda. So, you know what is the agenda? The agenda was, can you identify 4 improvement projects in the company? Together,
Right.
they were discussing. They
Right.
discussed quality. They discussed education for the employees.
Right.
They discussed community development. Uh, they discussed about something around productivity. So together they did that. So it said this is so. But then you'll have to work on this. You'll have to create that collaborative mindset. Then you will
Right.
have to give them that skills and give
Yeah.
them that interaction. In that interaction, you have to create that atmosphere where they can be frankly share those views.
Yes.
Even
Yes.
and then the attitude, mindset, and preparation to hear or listen to what you don't like to listen, and even if it is a
Right.
negative feedback. So you have to
Right.
create that. But once you create it, it's one. It was a wonderful experience for me actually.
Hmm.
And no, day two they said we will finish your job in 90 minutes. They did that. So this is how
Sure.
synergy is built. Synergy
Yeah,
is built.
I think the key point there is to have a dialogue. I think
Yeah.
constant communication is something that really, really works a long way in creating synergy. Because, like the example you gave, a very beautiful example of ITC, and that's, I'm sure, something that a lot of companies can learn from. That when you have two different diverse set of people, which is, one is the management and the other is the line, which is the employees. And there can be serious, differences, but probably dialogue and mediation is the way. And what I've seen, having worked in manufacturing and consulting as well, what I have experienced is that if there is continuous, communication, dialogue, these problems don't even arise. They arise because there is some sort of a gap somewhere in the understanding. Like you said, they had the same 70% of their thought process was the same. Just that probably they never got an opportunity to put it across to each other. So they didn't have a platform to do it. So I think communication forums need to be a little more,
Very.
a little more institutionalized in organizations.
And
Great. I
you
think that
are
was a very good example of
in your
ITC.
question, there was a hidden point: business and HR. See,
Yes.
or align or HR. So
Yeah.
typically, at least in our country, we think that anything to do with business, output,
Yeah.
productivity, quality, safety, profit, it's all line. Anything to do with culture, care,
Yes.
compassion,
Yes.
welfare is to do with HR. So what whichever companies I work with, like Coromandel or Gale or Pullman or ITC or Kotak Mahindra, wherever I have been working. So I always put them into one very simple quadrant. I said on y-axis, you write anything you think it is line. So people write lots of things like production, productivity, output, quality, quantity, profitability, savings, all that. In this side, they write a lot of things around employee care, welfare, safety, counseling, flexibility, all those things. I said,
Yes.
is it possible that you can do both on a scale of 9? Can it be 9 9? Initially, they said, no, no, no. If I am a great in production, productivity, and all, I will not be able to be great on compassion. No, it's not possible. Similarly, they
Yes.
felt if I am great on compassion and care, and I will not be able to drive productivity. This is the mindset.
Yeah.
So I divided them into 4 quadrants. Okay, you think a 9-1 manager means he only does production, or you say 1-9 manager if he's 9-1. He said, think, are there not people who do both? So they started thinking of great senior CEOs, great
Right.
business managers. Think of some people. Yes, sir, they were very good, sir. When it comes to caring, they were caring. When it comes to driving performance, profitability, they were doing it. So now let us see linkages. People who are progressive minded, are productivity minded, output minded, they know that they have to carry the people together. So they will do
Absolutely.
whatever is required to take care of them.
Very
Similarly,
well said.
if you are taking genuine care of your people, if genuinely taking care of people, you don't have to work, you don't have to remind them
Yes.
to contribute. They will be
Absolutely.
so much loyal to you, so much
Absolutely.
indebted to you, they will work. So you
Right.
try this out, I said, you try this out, work. So now we always say, so it's possible, may not be 9-9, 10-9, maybe 7-6, 8-6, 8-7. But
Right.
on one side, productivity, business, on the other side, compassion. So business and
Right.
compassion, you can drive both together. So this is
Yes.
what I have seen people are able to do. It's not I am telling them. I have seen people are able to do.
Able to do. Very, very beautiful thoughts there, because that is a dilemma which a lot of people face. The business people face this dilemma that, people is not my responsibility. I am there for my production. I'm there for my job. And HR people feel that my responsibility is only people. But I think we're seeing that change now. And like you said,
Yeah.
and you gave a very, very beautiful example saying that, if people are motivated, they will, you don't have to follow up with them. The line people, the business leaders don't have to get after them to get the work done. If you take care of your people take care of your work and your organization. So it's a beautiful point that you make, and I really like your perspectives on that. Absolutely. We have a question here from Shweta. um,
Okay.
she says she's a big admirer of your work on engagement policies for workmen. And her question is that people come with different life exposures, different life experiences. What do you suggest are your top three ways to develop sensitivity as a culture at workplace, which in turn becomes a part of the DNA of the workplace, in and outside workplace?
See, I will give you the example of Malaysia. Okay.
Yeah.
So, so we have gone there from India. We don't know the language. First problem. And we thought we would learn one language. And when we entered, we saw there were 8 nationalities working there, 8 different countries, speaking 21 languages. Because
Wow.
within Malaysia, they speak 3 languages. Within Malaysia, Malay,
Mm.
Chinese, and Tamil. Example. So,
Yeah.
like our Indians were there. There are many people who only speak Gujarati. They don't speak Hindi. So there are many only talk Hindi. They don't. Some people only talk good English. They don't talk any other language. That way.
Right. Right.
So that's the example I always give. If you can bring inclusion there.
Right.
So you see, you have got Reliance people, non-Reliance people. You have foreign workers, domestic workers. Okay. So
Right.
you have these different languages, so different age groups. So
Right.
basically, it is managing diversity. Whether it is because of the
Yes.
pandemic, because of the workplace, working anywhere is, the all managers have to be inclusive managers, because
Right.
you are never given a team where everybody is the same type.
Yes.
Sometimes you will have this nationality diversity, language diversity, age diversity, or qualification diversity, background diversity. I'm not talking about gender diversity at all, even
Right.
thinking diversity. So we conducted, so I'm giving that example so that it will be a tip for her. We did diversity and inclusion workshops for all our managers who went from India to Malaysia. Then
Okay.
we included the local managers. So, in order to succeed in this setup of 8,000 people where 8 nationalities and so many languages are there, you have to be inclusive managers. That means
Right.
how do you design a policy which is acceptable to all?
Yeah.
How do you design a gift which is acceptable to all? We were giving New Year gift, 8,000 gifts
Right.
to buy. but that gift should be acceptable to all. So it's very, so whether it is policy, whether it is timings, whether it is operation, whether it is process, whether it is style of monitoring and communication. So you have to be very sensitive that some people don't understand your language,
Yes.
some people
Yes.
don't understand your ritual, some people will don't understand your purpose. So
Absolutely.
like no, so this yeah, whether it is a pandemic or non-pandemic,
Yes. It's required.
every manager, like we say, is a people manager. Every manager has to be an inclusive manager because
Right.
diversity will always be there wherever you go. So
Yes.
so how do we do that? Number one, you should always respect each other. Number two,
True.
leverage the strengths. Leverage the strength.
Right.
Number three,
Right.
if somebody has got a shortcoming, work with them. Work with them. How much of that can be ignored? How much that can be
Mm.
developed? Developed. That's all. If you do, again, dialogue and understand each other, the sharing with each other, then you know the perspective better. We wanted to do cricket match there. Later, we
Right.
found that cricket is not popular. They don't like cricket. They like football.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
small thing like this.
Yeah.
So
So
small example
customizing.
like this.
Yeah.
So we discussed with them what is cricket, how, what will happen. So I said more people can be there. It can be a lot of fun can be there. All that, and we could do
Sure.
that.
Absolutely. And I guess, the point that you made around whether it is pandemic or not pandemic, because even before the pandemic, these sensitivity trainings, the sensitization sessions
Yes.
were happening as a focused initiative in a lot of companies. And I think what's important, like you said, is to create that sensitivity culture. Probably the management first has to be a little sensitive to the needs of the people, and like you said, customizing. You gave the example of the cricket match, which is very good. Now in Indonesia, if cricket is not popular, but we try and do it because that is something that we've seen working in India doesn't work. So it has to be, you first have to be sensitive to the needs of your people, and design initiatives around it, and that's when you expect a culture of sensitivity to be set in the organization as a part of DNA.
And the
Beautiful
same
thoughts there.
model should apply to the current situation of work from anywhere. What are the
Right.
issues when you are working from home? You
Yeah.
are in person, you are in a coffee
Absolutely.
shop, you are in a shared office, same thing. Again,
True.
diversity,
True.
inclusion. At home, I am disturbed by parents, by my children.
Yes.
When I'm in coffee shop, I got a limited space. I cannot talk loudly. So these are the
Right.
limitations, small. So within that, so that sensitization, that's what important. But the model is same, inclusion. Inclusion is the model.
True. Absolutely. Inclusion is the key for it. Great. Beautiful thoughts there. There's one more question that has just come in from Yash, saying, what, according to you, are the emerging leadership challenges on account of future of work in the context of people working in the unorganized sector?
Hmm. Yeah, very, very good question,
Very
Ash.
good question. Yes.
Yeah, very good. Because see, always our tendency is engagement. We talk about white collar and forget blue collar. That
True.
was first problem. We
Yeah.
always, all our theories, all our research publications, transformation, all that around white, and we forget the blue because but they are majority. The second one
Right.
is we talk about this organized, unorganized. Yeah, majority of our people are in the unorganized sector.
Unorganized sector.
Unorganized sector.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
so he's talking about leadership challenges in that. So, see, three things are changing. Work is changing, workforce is changing, and workplace is changing. Workplace is
Yeah.
changing. So, even in the unorganized sector, digitalization is happening.
Hmm.
Even in the unorganized sector, it is spreading its wing to most domains.
Right.
That means it was not only in construction. No, no, no. It is in most. Then the second is this unorganized sector is getting organized. So
True.
that we should help them in the transition management.
Yes.
See, the leadership is how do we, like earlier days we were no managing badly contractual workers, so where they were coming into the regular, or the
Yeah.
reverse is from regular people becoming gig. So that
Yes.
transition is
Yes.
one. And unorganized sector, how do we give them the skills? So how do
Yeah.
we tie up with the skill development centers? The skill
Absolutely.
development center, that is there.
Absolutely.
Then how
Yeah.
do we give them the digitalization?
Yeah.
So that is another in the organization. So
Absolutely.
leadership uh, challenge in the unorganized sector a little more challenging, but it's a lot of fun because there is so much to grow there because the gap is
Yes.
high. So you can invest in
Absolutely.
digitalization, you can installation processes for transition. Then you can do a
Absolutely.
lot of work around skill development. You can do that.
Absolutely. Completely agree. I agree with the point that when you're working at the shop floor level, when you're working in at a place where, there is an opportunity to do a lot, I can very well relate to it because I started my career with an IR stint. And the amount of contribution that I was able to make there was, I think, I've never had the opportunity to do so much in my life again. So definitely endorse because there is just so much there to do. And I think the leadership challenge, probably one answer could be that the unorganized sector, probably what it lacks is processes. And if the unorganized sector adapts a process mindset, that everything has to have a process around it, there has to be it doesn't have to be people dependent, it has to be process dependent. I think that's where a lot of leadership challenges would be taken care of, because a lot of, in my experience, in my limited experience, a lot of challenges that occur on the leadership front are because there is a lack of processes, so people interpret and do things the way they want to do it. So that was just one
But
probably point
things are
that could,
things are changing.
things are
You'll
changing.
see the delivery boys. You have seen it was an unorganized
Yes.
sector. It's so
Yes.
much organized. One
Absolutely.
company has got 4 lakh people. Only one
Yes.
company.
Yes.
So it's
Absolutely.
like
That's
no,
big.
the
Yeah.
driving category was unorganized, not disorganized.
Right.
So
Right.
slowly
Right.
things will get
Things are changing.
organized. That
Yes.
transition is
Absolutely.
happening. The transition
It
is
is
happening.
happening. True, true, sir, true. You worked in so many great organizations, in the capacity of a senior leader. Can you share a personal experience? I know you shared the ITC experience on, creating the synergy, but specifically related to, an example how great employee relations or employee engagement initiatives led to a favorable impact on the business, because employee
Wow.
engagement is considered to be a very HR centric activity. What people probably don't realize is that it is important to keep employees engaged for a favorable impact on the business. So in your experience, have you experienced it, where great
Yeah,
employee
absolutely.
relations have actually led to a great business result?
Because if I share something of Steel Authority, it will sound
Please.
an old story. So
No,
it is
please, we'd love to hear that.
1985-86 priorities for action. We made a loss of 300 crores for the first time in the history of the company. And within 1 year, we made a profit of 300 crores. So on a
Wow.
project called Priorities for Action. So anyway, those are all little old stories. Are in JK, we implemented, we did, we have done away with all functional distribution of work. There are no functions, no department.
Okay.
Everybody was converted into a process. So, or
Okay.
we managed overtime. So they're old. I will tell you the last one, probably the latest one before I came to the consulting. Again, I'll have to go to the Reliance example only. I think probably that is the latest one.
Sure.
See, we bought a company, and then our experts felt that if you buy a company, you will take over a lot of legacies and liabilities. Then they
Hmm.
change the model. Let us buy the assets, not the company. The company remained, we bought the assets. And I from my curiosity, I said, what is one benefit? He said, those 8,000 people, 7,500 people, you don't have to take them because they belong to a company. You are only buying
Right.
the machinery, land, and building. It's very interesting. So we thought 7,500 people are gone. So we'll have to recruit 7,500 people. We were doing. And the wise people who were advising the
Hmm.
great
Yeah.
management, they said, while we are not obliged to take them, let us take them. He said, what are your challenges? So I
Hmm.
gave the challenge number one, skill set, number two, mindset, number three, loyalty, number one, a lot of things, no? So all that we gave. Said now it is your KRA to sort that out,
Right.
make them skilled, create that mindset. So, but while we did that, first thing we did is by doing that, we created trust. Not only these
Yeah.
7,500 people, the entire government of Malaysia, the community
Right.
in Malaysia, they said, oh, what a great company. They are not
Right.
obliged, but they're taking 7,500 people. That was
Right.
the trust building itself. Number two, the transparency. We said we were hesitant to take you because we run on policies and processes. Policy, and these are our processes. We will be
Right.
implementing ERP here. We don't have ERP here. We'll implementing KRAs here. We'll implementing differentiated increments here. We will
Right.
have competency based promotions here. We gave them all those things. Transparency will help you. So initially they got shocked, all those things. So the second one was the transparency, trust
Yeah.
and transparency.
Trust
The
and transparency.
third one we did is large number of training programs because they were in a sick company for
Yeah.
7, 8 years. So they
Yeah.
lost on skills and all. And Reliance on a skill level is much higher than them, though it was a bigger company. So a lot of
Right.
skill, quality, production, productivity, lot of digital, all skills were given the training. The last
Right.
one is we said if you work in our system, the rewards will be very tangible. So they were never knowing that our system, the increment will be the lowest to highest. These are four types, 400 times.
Okay.
So the lowest increment level to the highest increment is four times. So they were not used to that. I mean, those tangible rewards,
Sure.
promotions, and all. So we did this trust building, transparency,
Transparency.
worked on training, worked on this. Believe me, we took over a sick company. We
Yeah.
never knew the language. We were
Right.
outsiders. First time in the history of Reliance, we ran a company outside India. First time, but within 1 year, we turned it around and made a huge profit. So that
Awesome.
is the net result. And out of the 7,500 people, I think around 6,000 people were retained. Some could not manage the processes, manage the pressures. They
Sure.
left, but majority stayed. Their earning levels improved. They got promotions. Their skill levels improved. They
Yeah.
started seeing, the sharing of gains, growth, excitement, fun, a lot of infrastructure development, a lot of facilities. So they saw all that. So that's a
Right.
very great case of
Absolutely.
quick turnaround through employee engagement, the trust,
Absolutely.
transparency, training. So that was the
Absolutely,
last.
sir. Very good example, and I think because you've actually done it, it sounds so inspiring. Because what you said, the four things are actually what an employee would look for. One is trust, one is transparency. Transparency. The third is around training, which is building capability, organization, investing in people. So people also see growth in that. And the fourth is pay for performance. That you pay me for what I'm doing. And the idea of having four different levels of increments was very good. You actually pay well to the people who are doing well. So I think this formula, if organizations really work on it, I think this can bring a turnaround in any organization of today. So very useful inputs there, sir. Completely, absolutely beautiful example there.
Thank you.
Okay. We would have time for maybe one more question here. So, HR always talks about occupying its right place in the boardroom. So, in other words, how does HR make its place in driving the business, especially in these tough times when businesses are struggling to keep afloat?
See, I've spent my life in HR, so I have sympathized myself. We always have these basic dilemmas. HR business partnering. Why you will partner with somebody who's outsider? Yeah?
Yes,
You are part of business. Where is the question of partnering? I always say you are part of business. So same way,
absolutely.
going to the boardroom as if it's an outside, no, it's outside world. I am going there. You are a part of the board. You are driving.
Yes.
Anyway, I think end of the day,
The dilemma
if you
that
want
still
to,
a lot of HR professionals face. It's
say
still a dilemma.
destination
They struggle
boardroom,
to, yeah,
it's a
destination.
destination
Absolutely.
boardroom. So who will go to the board? You have a
Yeah.
strategic mind. You have a strategic mind. you have got a direction clear, your commercial acumen, you got a good commercial acumen, and you
Yeah.
can drive performance, you can bring change. These are the five
Yeah.
things you do.
Sure.
So any
Sure.
function for that matter, whether it is logistics or sales or projects or production or HR, if you are able to drive these in your own function and
Yeah.
have a broader view as a company level and adding
Yes.
value. So one
Yes.
great tool, probably I must congratulate you, you have chosen a topic, workplace synergy. This is something, this job cannot be outsourced to somebody.
True.
No, no, I don't
Absolutely.
think a consultant will do, come and get, you will do it yourself. Huh? And
Yes.
this is, so why don't you drive this workplace synergy where you use your head, heart, and hands, all three, and drive.
Very
If
true.
you can make this successful, particularly in a today's world of
Yeah.
work from
Yeah.
anywhere, because people are getting challenged, both
Yes.
employees and the line managers. If HR takes the lead, establish very good policies, very good practices, very good
Yes.
engagement, get line managers trained, no, sensitize them, get employees sensitized, because this is how
Right.
we will work. But then
Right.
the purpose, but then end of the day, from wherever you work, you all work for one common purpose, and you have to
Absolutely.
work with passion, work with passion, and whatever we
Absolutely.
do should lead to productivity and profitability. That goes without saying. So you get
Yes.
equipped with that. So if
Yeah.
HR can take the lead and do it, I am sure they
Absolutely.
seat in the boardroom.
It's
No, it is
fixed.
secure. It
Nobody,
is always
it's
secure.
absolutely secure. Absolutely. I think it's a beautiful point that you made around the workplace synergy. It all depends on that, how well HR is able to drive that synergy and see as a partner, as a partner in taking the business
It's a great
forward.
opportunity for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Sir, one last question I have, and which I really want to ask you. You're an expert in employee relations and employee engagement. Now, what I have seen is that usually organizations start with very good initiatives, employee engagement initiatives, and then suddenly, when let's say a leadership transition happens, then these engagement initiatives that a particular leader started in the organization also fizzle out. So, how does one ensure that such initiatives are institutionalized in an organization so that they are no longer people dependent and they become a part of the overall DNA of the organization? If you could, talk about your
Yeah,
personal experience, how did you
yeah. I
create
think,
sustainable initiatives?
so it is true for other functions also.
Hmm.
The director sales goes, or a director production or director quality goes.
Yeah.
Some changes have happened, but it happens more when it comes to people. I don't know why.
Yes, that's very strange. So,
That's
so
very
what's
strange. So now one reason why it is done is,
hmm.
one is, we have this tendency, the newcomer, we have this tendency, newcomer, in his anxiety, in excitement to prove himself, will
Yeah.
have to bring some changes, for the sake of change. So then, while you change, what will happen? You will give away, forget the past. This is one reason why it is happening. Number two
Right.
is, HR is one area where the CEO, the head, anybody else also, they have got a role in this. So it is not because CHR will change. If the
Yeah.
production head has changed, or a sales head has changed, or a CEO has changed, also it can affect us, because everybody is a people
Right.
manager. So that is the
Right.
second reason this area gets
Sure.
affected. Okay, now let us
Makes
come,
sense.
owing seeing the time. One is, you have to institutionalize. So it's saying, that is easy saying that. So how do you do that? Include
Yes.
that in your key KPA, key job
Yeah.
description. This is your job. Include that in annual targets. Annual
Appraisals. Yeah.
targets. Number two, whatever policies you do, they document those policies. There should not be any ad hoc policies. If ad
Yes.
hoc policies, they will go away with the person. If you document,
Right.
then last is whenever there is a change of leadership, there should be a handing over note. In that, you should
Right.
say, this is one important initiative we have taken. This is at this level. This is the purpose. I am sure you will drive it further. If you
Absolutely.
think it is very important, you
Yes.
must brief your successor.
Sure.
That will work. That will work. Yes,
Yeah.
it is tough, but people do take
Yeah.
care. Large organizations work, continuity is there, but a
Yes.
little effort is required. Little effort required.
Sure, sure. Those are very, again, very doable, very relevant suggestions, sir. Because a lot of times, good initiatives go with people who leave the organization, and then the organization is back to square one, and the new person comes in and does the same work. So, somewhere the organization suffers. But these are very, very doable and relatable, inputs. Wow, so much to learn from you, sir, in 1 hour. And I think I have a whole laundry of questions, but I think I'll block some time with you and take those questions separately. But it's been an
Sure.
absolute pleasure to have you, sir. There is so much learning, though so many takeaways from a 60-minute session. It is unbelievable, and many thanks to you. Deeply grateful for taking out time and sharing your experiences, so many great experiences you've shared, your personal experiences, and it's an inspiration for a lot of people, a lot of professionals to work and implement some of the things that you spoke about, because you've practically done it and seen the results coming out of it. So again, on behalf of the audience here, amazing session, thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you again on our platform with a new topic and a lot many more questions, sir.
Thank you so much. Wish you everybody good luck, the great workplace energy in your own organizations. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And thank you to the audience who joined us today for this session. Thanks for taking out time on a Saturday afternoon, and we'll see you in the next episode 2 weeks from now. Thank you and have a great weekend ahead.